Welcome to another video of Arkham Horror the card game. Today we are reviewing the preview of Dexter Drake, an upcoming investigator for the second edition of Arkham Horror the card game. He will be the mystic investigator within the investigation expansion. And today we will look at him together, starting with the first card in the preview, Dexter Drake himself. I have to say, the illustration looks very beautiful. I'm a big fan of the way he looks. Very beautiful. I like it a lot. And he has the following stats. We have a willpower of 5, which is also the best you can get as a base stat, especially as mystics. That's what you are looking for. Most of your skill test you will perform using your willpower. So having here the highest you can get. I have never seen an investigator with a higher base skill value than 5, so this is at max you can get, and he's already set up very well. On Dexter Drake we have the following reaction. After you play an asset, either return another non-story asset you control to your hand, or play a different asset from your hand paying its cost. This is limited once per round. His Elder Sign increases the skill value by +1. You may return a non-story asset at your location to its owner's hand. So very important here, it says to its owner's hand. It can be another investigator at your location. So you could also let him take his asset back if he wishes to. Then Dexter has a hit points of 6, which is alright for mystics, and also his horror or sanity of 8 is decent. It's not very great. I mean, the highest is 9, so 8 is good, I would say, and 6 is also pretty good for a mystic investigator. So let's move on to the second card. Here we have Cosmic Flame. This will be the future fight card for mystics. It's an asset that costs 3 resources and it takes up 1 arcane slot. It comes into play with 3 charges. We have an action here. We can fight using our willpower. If you succeed, you may spend 1 charge to deal +1 damage for this attack. If you reveal a skull token during this test, remove 1 charge from Cosmic Flame. If you cannot do that, you have to take 1 damage and discard this card. So first of all, also here the illustration, very beautiful. Cosmic Flame. I can see Dexter throwing some Cosmic Flames to his enemies. Very beautiful. So this is equivalent card to Shriveling. As we can see here from the core set from the first edition, Shriveling was also an asset that cost 3 resources, but it had 4 charges instead of 3. And the main difference is here really that this card gives you a little bit more control over your charges. Small randomness that if you draw the skull token you lose 1 charge. However, this card now can also be used to attack enemies like swarm rats. Like if you had to do it with Shriveling in the past, you had to spend the charge regardless of which enemy you are fighting, and Cosmic Flame in opposition to that gives you a little bit more flexibility. However, if you draw the skull token too often, you will use all your charges before you ever can use the +1 damage. I think overall a very beautiful design. It's very well balanced, especially compared to Shriveling. So I like it a lot. Let's move to the next card. So up next we have Cloak of Resonance, another 3-cost asset that takes up a body slap and has a sanity of 3. We have the following reaction on this card. When horror is placed on Cloak of Resonance, exhausted, deal 1 damage to an enemy at your location. So this is pretty much Agnes Baker's ability, which is a very powerful ability. Of course, the costs are very high, but I think this card is worth it and also very well designed. I like it a lot. The illustration looks beautiful. The effect is nice. I mean, there's no more to say. other than this is a perfect card, especially in a single player mode where you have to defeat an enemy with 3 hit points. You can somehow, I mean, Mystic cards always give you an opportunity to take horror. So you can take the horror, place it on Cloak of Resonance to deal the +1 damage or the additional damage you need to defeat a 3 hit point enemy. So overall, I'm a very big fan of the cards we have seen so far. Here we have now a 0-cost event with the title For My Next Trick, and as we can see here, it's Dexter Drake deck only. What is a little bit irritating is that they have changed the signature cards of investigators to have a different background. They used to be gray. If you can remember Roland's 38 special, you can actually give a quick look at it. Should be here. As you can see here, the background was neutral for signature cards. That's why I was irritated when I saw this card first. Now it has the background of the investigator class. And my first impression, I didn't expect it to be a Dexter Drake signature card. But I don't know why they have changed it this way. They may have reasons for it, but it's okay. The illustration is all right. I like the flames in the head. This looks very nice. The rest is okay. The cape is also pretty. You know, he has a vampire or Dracula look, but it's okay. The effect is search your deck for a spell or item asset and play it, reducing its cost by 2. Shuffle your deck. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity, and this is a very powerful signature card. Very, very powerful. I like it a lot. So if there's a spell in your deck that you really want to play, now you have a third copy of it, because for my next trick, can just search for it. It searches your whole deck, so you can take a hard mulligan. You will either find the spell you are looking for, or you will find his signature card, which would be even better because you can reduce the cost by 2, and also you can play it. This is not only a draw and play, it saves you a lot of actions, it reduces the cost by 2. So if there's any chance to bring this card back to your hand, you want to take it, because it's also a lot of fun and very thematic, very nice designed. 10 out of 10. So we move on. Oh, Jim Carver. Okay, when I saw this first, I was happy. I like Jim Carver a lot, and you know, bringing him back as ally is so nice. It's just great to have him on the table, you know. It's beautiful. He is also, his effect is very nice. I mean, the +1 willpower, you always want to see that as Mystics. Of course, he costs 4. However, he has a pretty nice reaction. After you take damage and or horror, exhaust Jim Culver, draw 1 card. So if you always assign him 1 damage and then 1 horror, you can draw up to 2 cards for his 4 cost, which is very good. And if you have ways to heal damage or horror from Jim Culver, you can, you know, take more advantage of his reaction. A very nice card, and I like it. You don't want Jim Culver to be defeated. He's an ally that you want to keep in play. You know, first he's Jim Culver. Second, he will draw you your cards. Very nice. The next card we have is a Lucky Charm. Here the illustration is a little bit odd. It doesn't really match to all the other things. I mean, it looks good, but it's a little more digital, I feel like, but it's okay. I'm a very, you know, visual guy. I like pretty artworks, and I like if there's a consistency in between the illustrations. But this is still not too digital. I feel like it fits. if it would be too different, it kind of sometimes I don't want to play cards that look too different than others, but that's just me. Anyways, we have here a 2-cost asset, Lucky Charm. It takes up 1 accessory slot. It has a sanity of 2, comes into play with 4 charges. Here we have a free action. We can spend 1 charge and exhaust the Lucky Charm to move 1 damage or 1 horror from a card at your location to a card you control. So this card allows a very nice combo with Jim Culver and the Cloak of Resonance. So if you have all 3 cards in play, what you can do is move 1 horror from Jim Culver with the Lucky Charm to the Cloak of Resonance to deal 1 damage to an enemy and give you 1 more horror to assign to Jim in future rounds to draw another card. So these 3 cards, I mean, the designers have already set it up for you. It's a very well working combo, and yeah, why not use all 3 together? So next we have our second arcane spell, Second Sight, 4-cost asset, comes into play with 3 charges. It is similar to the Cosmic Flame. This is your staple card for investigating with mystics. You can use your willpower to investigate, and it costs 1 more than the black. Oh my god, I already forgot the name. 1 more than Cosmic Flame. And this is a little bit of a weaker card, especially if playing in a single player mode, because often locations come into play with 1 clue per investigator, and a very high cost in a single player mode. However, it still allows you to investigate using your willpower. At the moment, you will not have another alternative up until they print different cards that may be more useful for single player modes, but at least we can use our willpower for investigations. Because yeah, if you succeed, you may spend 1 charge to discover 1 additional clue. Will work out in 2 or more player games, but in a single player game it will come into play sometimes, not all the times. It's still very good. You will have locations with more than 1 clue, then it's ideal. However, if you only investigate at locations with 1 clue, you have to take less. You have to worry less that you will discard this card by drawing too many cultist tokens, since you will not use any charges. You will mainly use it to investigate using your willpower. Illustration is alright. I mean, not really that beautiful. Yeah, hope that we will get different investigation cards with different illustrations, also a little bit more single player orientated. Okay, now we have a 0-cost event, Will of the Cosmos. So this card says, place 1 doom on a player card you control, then discover 1 clue at your location and 1 clue at another revealed location. My opinion, very good card. Not only does it look very beautiful, it also has a very strong effect, especially when you are playing on expert difficulty and you have high SWOT values. This is the card you want to go with. The downside of this card is, however, that it will sometimes slow you down. So it may not be used in every scenario. You have to, address your strategy accordingly to take most advantage of the card as you can, since ideally you want to play this card when the agenda advances anyway. So you would place the Doom and it will not have any downside. You discover 2 clues, which is perfect. Again, you have to, adjust your strategy Sometimes waiting for this card may take too long because you want to wait up until the moment when the agenda card advances, and in some scenarios you may not have the time. But overall, a very well designed, beautiful looking card. I'm a big fan of such cards where you have to play around, where the uses, you know, is increased depending on the scenario and your strategy. Here also a 10 out of 10 rating. Next, another zero cost event. Here we have Premonition. When I first read the card, I was like, this is too strong of a card. But then I realized there's a forced effect to it. So let's read the full text. We have a card that has the fast keyword. We can play it during any player window. It says put Premonition into play and seal a random token from the chaos bag on Premonition. Then this effect is forced when a token would be revealed from the chaos bag. Resolve the token sealed here as if it were just revealed instead. Then release that token and discard Premonition. So this card is, especially on Expert to the end game, a very, very strong card. I mean, I just imagined you can play it at any player window and it has the fast keyword. So if you have 2 copies in your hand fighting the final boss, you can just play the card, see what token you are drawing for your next big attack, and then you can adjust the resources or the cards you are committing to defeat the final boss. So let's say we draw -4. That means we don't have to cover the -8, which we would have on expert difficulty, and we can save up to 4 resources, which is very nice, very, very nice. And if you draw less, you save even more, so you know exactly what you are dealing with. I mean, the artwork is a little bit frightening. I wish the monster wouldn't look too weird, but the card itself, I see a lot of potential in it. Like, even if you draw the autofail token, you know exactly this attack, or you may not even attack, use a different skill test. However, even if you attack, you know that you don't have to commit anything. Like usually to the end, you say, okay, I will cover everything up to the autofail mark, and if you draw it, you know you don't have to do it anymore. So it's a very strong card. Maybe for zero experience, too strong. I don't know about it. But like the initial impression is it's too strong, but let's see. It really depends on how the game is overall designed. When I say this, I compare to the scenarios I have played so far and what is expected from the game in general. Here we have a reprint, Ward of Protection, which I like a lot. This card is a staple card. It's nice to see it returned. But what I don't like is why they haven't changed the illustration. Come on guys, don't be so lazy on these kind of things, especially for the old player base. You do us such a big favor by changing the illustration. We can build more thematic decks, and I don't like this kind of laziness. The card is great, but anyways, maybe if this comes to FFG, please, future reprints, give it a different illustration, please. Oh yeah, Soul Link. First, very flashy, very beautiful card. Illustration, 10 out of 10. Effect, 10 out of 10. I'm such a big fan of this card. It also combos so well with the cloak. With the Cloak of Resonance, in which you put 1 horror and deal 1 damage. So I would use this card for very critical skill tests, like beating the final boss. And here we have an additional cost to commit Soul Link. We have to take 1 horror, and we can place the horror to the cloak to deal 1 more damage to the final boss. And then when we attack, we can increase our willpower by +3, so very beautiful, very strong card. 10 out of 10 rating. Yeah, now we have Spiritual Intuition. This is a 2-cost asset. This is our equivalent card to find it. Was it Arcane Studies? But I, to be honest, feel like these cards are a little bit too strong. I don't know how they have designed the difficulty of the game, but now you just spend 1 resource and you get +2 instead of the +1. It may make the game a little bit more easy, but it really depends on how they have designed it. I mean, the game already has difficulty levels: easy, normal, hard, expert. You don't have to overpower these cards, you know. If you still just have to beat a -8, now you do it much easier, you know. In the past you may had to spend 8 resources, now you have to spend 4 resources to cover all tokens except for the autofail marker. I mean it's alright, okay. And the illustration is also, this is one of the bad ones. I don't like it. You know, the problem with these cards is these are your cards you will always have in your deck, and as a designer I wish they would think about this and, you know, really think about the design of the card. Do I want this design on my table for the rest of the game? I don't want it, but now we have it. I really hope if they reprint this card, just change the illustration, man. Yeah, I would even prefer this one, which is also not that great, but this is very good. I don't know. Where's anyways. Final card. Yeah, we have made it. The Necronomicon, the signature weakness card of Drake. It says Drake translation. So very critical. It takes up 1 arcane slot. This you have to always keep in mind when you draw this card. You have to put it in play, and if you have your arcane slots already covered, you unfortunately have to discard one of your asset cards to replace it by the Necronomicon. So it comes into play in your threat area. It cannot leave play except by the action ability below. And while it is in play, you cannot play assets or trigger abilities on other assets you control. So this card you have to get rid of, because mystics always rely on their assets, and if you cannot use the trigger abilities on other assets, you're kind of screwed. So you have to get rid of it. Here you have to take a willpower test with a difficulty of 5. If you succeed, discard the Necronomicon, and if you fail, shuffle it into your deck and take 1 horror. Shouldn't be too difficult with Dexter, depending on what difficulty you are playing. Especially if you have Jim Carver in play, you have already a willpower of 6, and then you can use Spiritual Intuition, the spell or ritual card, and okay, here you cannot use it. Item Tome Cursed. So you wouldn't get the +2 for this card. Anyways, you could commit cards and spend a little bit resources to get rid of this card, which you definitely have to. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and bye bye.